Here is a brand new live streaming on the topic of humanitarian love, together with my dear friend and coach, Pauline. Pauline, would you like to say hello?
Yes, hello, hello. I'm Pauline. Maybe we'll go into a more deeper introduction in a moment.
Yes, so Pauline and I decided that it's time we talked about things that we somehow talk about, but not so much in this type of format, and the topic of love. So anything related to love, be it self-love, love for someone that you really crave or want, or love for work. And the reason we wanted to talk about is to make it less taboo and more open and transparent, and also sharing experiences of um, how we found love, and how other humanitarians are finding love, and what are the challenges that we face on the way to doing so. And that's why today, because we are starting a brand new live streaming every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, we thought that today we will be just focusing on introducing ourselves, sharing our experiences of how it was for us, and also uh, outlining general problems that we see, or the patterns we see that humanitarians are experiencing, and how, and then we will be addressing those um, in the following live sessions that we'll be doing. So, before we get into the details of sharing our experiences of what we've learned and how it was, maybe we'll introduce ourselves very quickly. Pauline, why don't you start and I follow?
Sure, sure. So I'm Pauline Busson. I'm a love coach and I help single independent women to create better relationships starting with themselves. So today I'm a coach, but some time ago I used to be a humanitarian for about 15 years. I work with various organizations, mostly with MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, but also the UN, ICRC, and other NGOs. And I was involved mostly in emergencies. I loved field emergency missions. And I used to work as a manager running projects and head of mission. And then at the end, I was more working as a consultant doing project evaluations. Yes, and I'm
Amazing.
French and I live in Brazil. Yes, for the
Yes.
location.
By the way, Pauline and I are for the first time in our lives in one country. I'm currently in Paris. So we're just talking about how amazing it is to be, I don't know, having this feeling of being in the same country, right?
Yes.
So, my name is Estela Armonova. For those of you who may not be familiar with my work, I'm a life coach helping people transition to the life they love living, and hence the topic of love as well. I also do another live streaming on transitioning for humanitarians as well, and that is on Thursdays at 1 p.m. CET for anyone who wants to join that. So I am originally from Kyrgyzstan, and I used to work for UNHCR. For many of you who may know me from that experience, I worked for 10 years, and then I decided that it's time to pursue another passion, which is help people achieve their dreams they want to. And that's what I'm doing since last year, January. So, now that you know about us, let's get into the details of how it was for us, in terms of us finding love, and how we understand that, and how it was, and where we are now currently. So, Pauline, floor is yours. Tell us the story.
Yes. Okay. So I would say that in my humanitarian years, almost 15 years, there was two parts. I started easily, let's say, with meeting a partner in my first mission, classic love in the first mission, and we managed to make it work Although we were sent to very different locations, so we managed to keep the relationship working long distance, and we also managed to, have our breaks together. And it was not easy, but we managed for a couple of years. And then when this relationship, which was a really good, healthy one, ended, I then entered a different cycle with much more challenges. And there I had a special pattern of being attracted to an available partner. So this is really, I'm happy to share about this because I know that many other people share this pattern, and many people that I work with. And so yes, there was a lot of passionate cycles, and a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And yeah, it was hard. Of course, it was hard, and I think for me it was not understanding what was going on. At the time, I was not necessarily linking it with the fact that I was humanitarian. Some people, some of my friends who were more in classic careers, were saying, "Oh, it's because you move all the time." And I was like, "No, no, no. It has nothing to do with moving all the time, because I do get to meet a lot of people. I believe much more than if I was, staying and working in an office in Paris." So for me, I was not blaming it on the context of being a humanitarian. And I'm naming this because I think this is one of the, I don't know if it's a myth, but it's like the circumstances of being a humanitarian. So this was not so much for me. But I had other, let's say, I don't know, it's not really issues, but points that I, with time, identified and could heal or process or look at it in a different ways. And 2 points that are maybe related to being a humanitarian, or that people in the humanitarian world can relate with, was a very strong passion for freedom and being independent. And so there was this subconscious idea that that settling or that being in a relationship would take away this freedom, that would have to compromise too much. So there was definitely this idea of independence, strong attachment to independence, that for me right now doesn't have to be a problem, but when it's in your mind, it can really block you. And I guess I also had the idea that looking for love and claiming it and going for it and making space for it was a weakness. So I didn't perceive it immediately. It was after a while that I realized this, but I had this idea that, yeah, like, I don't want to show when I'm interested. I'm this badass, strong woman, independent, and I don't want to be displaying that I actually want somebody by my side. And I guess there was also maybe another third issue that could be a common one in the humanitarian world, was question around self-esteem or worthiness, and that it was very tied for me with action, right? So I'm very much a doer, achiever, very identified with my work, and maybe not so much in contact with my human value, regardless whatever action, whatever results I was creating in my work. So yeah, as I was reflecting, I was like, okay, those 3 points were definitely things that I worked on over time, that are 3 points that I see a lot also with the women I work with, that are from the humanitarian world. And so how I don't know if I completely overcame, but how did I work around those points was, and here I'm going to talk a little bit about my career shift, because they went together. I started transitioning out of the humanitarian world, going through the yoga, through retreats, through becoming a yoga teacher. And so with that, there was a lot of more consciousness of what is happening in the body, what is happening in terms of emotion. And then I took a course online about self-love, about body, and some of those questions were really helpful to point out those issues. Yeah. So when you start and understanding, oh, this might be true. Oh, this might be true. Okay, just naming them, finding them is already a way to start processing those issues. And then as I transitioned and I became a coach, a love coach, during the year-long program, all the tools and practices that we learn for our clients, we applied to ourselves. So for me, the year of study was also a year of rewiring, of healing, of understanding myself much further. And it was like peeling, like an onion, like finding a new, oh, there's something new there. Oh, there's something new there. And how do you want to be with that? How do you want to change your perspective with that? And as I ended the course, I found my current partner. So it's not, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that there was, I was more ready for that. I had let go of those fears, some of those fears at least. And yeah, and now I've been with my partners for about 3 years. And yeah, and it's, as we were talking with, I said, it's always a work in progress. It's never like, okay, we have found somebody and that's it. So
Yeah.
um, in progress in getting to know ourselves, getting to know each other, and working through different triggers and growing together. So
Yeah,
yes.
it's amazing. So it's a great way to share what we learned and how the experience was and how we continue learning, right? So for me, I think I want to start with the current state so that when I tell you the previous story, you don't get shocked too much. Because currently, so um, I worked with my partner for 5 years, and in the last 2 years almost, we started dating, and we are currently in a relationship, in love, and also getting to know each other. So I feel like this, coming to this stage was like, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years of different experiences, of different trial and error, and working through lots of issues. Because the way that I started in my journey was that I think I had to overcome a lot of traumas because I come from a family where domestic violence, unfortunately, was a very present one. And when I became adult, I was always feeling like as long as I don't have a partner who beats me, I will be fine. This was my like I don't know a standard, if you will.
Mm,
This
mm,
was my self concept at the time, right? So I always had this idea that everyone is like that. And if I can find someone who doesn't do that, then I will have already won the jackpot. So this was on the one hand. And on the other hand, I had also a lot of issues to process that Pauline, you mentioned, which is the tying to the worthiness and the self esteem. Because I was also always believing that, well, I'm not really lovable. Who's going to love me? I am from this place. No one knows about me, and all kinds of stories about myself that I used to create around. And therefore, I would be always busy solving for those things. And that's why I think coming from that state of mind where believing that no one loves me and I can find love, and as long as I can find someone who's not um, going to beat me, and then coming to the place now where I don't even I can't believe that person was me, but that was me at some point, right? So, and of course, that led me to lots of journey. I think the way that I would describe my journey would be like three stages. The first one is where it's not possible for me. This is how I started. Like, it's not possible for me. And even if I see someone, they will be this people. I would have a lot of judgment about those people. Like, men are all this, men are all violent, or men are all cheating, or men are all this. These would be like my package of judgment about them. And then, therefore, I wouldn't even trust myself to go to the relationship or to the commitment because I would always be seeking something temporary or believing that there is no other solution. And then I believe like the next stage was after so many years of working on myself, the next stage was where I was thinking, okay, maybe it's possible, but only in these countries or only people from
mm,
these countries, right? And I this is also common for humanitarians. We sometimes believe that I can find only in this place. or only the places that I know, or something like this. And this was also me. I was also on that stage of, yes, it may be possible for others and for me, but, and there will always be but, and then the but will be with lots of other explanations. And therefore I would be always thinking like, oh, I probably can't find love now because I'm working in this G duty station or E duty station, so I need to get to another one so that I can find, right? Or another big myth that I used to carry around is, all men in this duty station are probably not going to want the commitment or relationship because they are only looking for entertainment or temporary relationship or whatever. So this is, I think, another one that we will be definitely discussing it, but definitely I had that as well in my experience. And then from the maybe stage, I think I came to realize that the yes stage, I would say, but the yes stage was where I was always putting a lot of conditions to the other people, like they should be this and they should be that, and I can only find someone if they do this and that, right? And whenever we are conditioning to other people, and we're always wanting to like look at other people, if you have this, then I will be able to have relationship. If you don't have this, then no. Then we will always want to change the other people, and then if we believe we can change them, then we want to change the relationship again, right? So this is, I think, the stage that I went through to then realize that, um, like you were saying, that I realized that it has always been the answer within me, but I search for answers everywhere else,
Mm.
believing that the answer will be with someone who knows better, with someone who knows how to teach me build a relationship, or who leads me in the relationship, or whatever the ideas that I had. And then I realized, wait a minute, I actually want to be clear for myself. What is the person I'm looking for, and what is the person I want to be in relationship? And then realizing a lot about who do I want to be in the relationship, what kind of relationship I do not want to even consider, and what are the compromises that I'm willing to go or not go. And once I have clarified and cleared and healed a lot of that, then I think I was able to then have that space to have someone and fall in love, and not have these fears always lurking behind, and the fear of, oh, what if he does this, or what if I do this. These type of like fears are gone, and more like trusting that I will show up in the relationship the way I want to. I am capable of doing this way, and then if he is not and he doesn't want to, it's absolutely fine. We are adults, we don't need to tie each other. And then yeah, so this is, I think, the journey that I have gone through. As I said, it was a long journey, it was a very painful one at so many levels. The years, in, I don't know, days of crying and then learning and then crying more, brought me to this stage where I feel like I'm finally leading the relationship I want, that I would call a healthy one, that I would call a free relationship, meaning that I feel free within the relationship, and a commitment, committed at the same time, instead of always trying to change the other person or change myself and adapt to the situation so that to rescue the relationship, right? So this
Mm.
is my story. And I feel like from our stories, there, you know, we were already talking about the myth and the belief systems that we were believing, and how we overcame that in our own way. But then we will be discussing those in details in each of the live session in the future. But to give an overview now, Pauline, what would you say that the main challenges that you see in your clients and from your experience, the main challenges are that we want to address?
Well, I think we started listing them throughout telling our story, huh? Because I usually see there's the first set of challenges in terms of external circumstances like frequent deployments, um, security issues, privacy issues when you are living, as a humanitarian in the field. Huh? I think this is mostly what we're going to be talking about. This is one part that is maybe the most obvious part that people will come up with, and we've been exchanging in some Facebook groups around finding partners, and this was the thing that was coming up a lot, the circumstances, I would say the external circumstances specifically related to humanitarian missions. But then there's all these others issues that are not specific to the humanitarian world, but sometimes they are a bit stronger than other environment, I would say. So we mentioned, both of us, the worthiness piece that is sometimes very obvious and sometimes not that obvious. And that this idea that we associate very much with what we do, with the result we create. So I think this is a big one. Um, I think there is, of course, the priority of the work. Like the jobs are all encompassing, and it's not like a 9 to 5, and after we can go and have a coffee or a cocktail. It's a bit more complicated, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then, yes, I think there is like different pieces that are going to come up, and yeah, we can take one topic each time. The idea of being the achiever, the idea of having the maybe a different emotional management than the rest of the world, I would say, or the rest of the people, or than our friends, at least. This idea of like being um, guarded and toughen up, and so yes, I'm not
Mhm.
going into the details of that, but just starting
Yeah.
to name them. But yeah, when you were telling your story with Asel, with this the different stage of the possibility,
Yeah.
I think this is more universal issue, but it would be interesting to talk about it. The idea that it's possible, right? And then you
Yeah.
mentioned the condition. So yes, the condition, the belief, the limiting belief, like, oh, if I'm in such duty station, then it's not possible. Then maybe if I'm the capital, it's going to be easier. Then if I'm a woman, oh, it's more easy. It's easier for men. So there's a lot of limiting belief, I think, or belief that we can challenge, and that we're going to try and challenge over the next talks. And yeah, this idea of possibility of condition, I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd love to add to that is that in the next session, I'd also love for us to focus on how do we recognize these in ourselves when someone else is not telling us that what you're doing, right? Because usually after a few relationship or after a few trials, we tend to start noticing some common patterns. But sometimes it's difficult to recognize them, or sometimes it's difficult to admit to them, or sometimes it's difficult to even know what to do with them. So that's why um, I really want to also focus on how do we recognize it if we're doing this within ourselves? What can we do about it? Specifically, if we're going through that, and what is working in that and working, and how are you tweaking and changing it? So this is, I think, something that you can also expect on those topics that Pauline was talking about. And also, we would love to bring some humanitarians to our discussions, where we will be also um, sharing their experiences and interviewing them how it was for them and how they made certain challenges, you know, work to their benefit rather than against themselves, right? So this is the scope of this live session, I would say. And we were also thinking of bringing some people live if you would like explore in coaching and how you the process. We will be about that, and we'll definitely be discussing the tools you can use for yourself in the process of growing yourself, in the process of coaching yourself. So this is how I would say would be going forward. Anything that we missed, Pauline, in terms of what people can expect from these live sessions?
No, I think it's exactly this. Is like naming the
Pauline.
challenges or the specific points. Can you hear me? Yeah, there's maybe a little lag. So
Mhm.
yes, just summarizing the idea that yes, we're going to look at all the different challenges that we see as the major one, and yes, working like of course we're both coaches, life coach and love coach. So the idea that changing the belief that it is possible that we can change perspective over these different points. And I think one other point is we would want to normalize this conversation because we've noticed we're talking with ourselves that this is a conversation that is somehow taboo, like talking about emotion, talking about love. It feels, as I had this point of view of seeing this as a weakness, we feel very vulnerable. And I see this with women I have conversation with, the idea like, no, I don't want to say, I don't want to talk about love. It's like, very dirty little secret. So the point is like, let's talk about this. Let's normalize a little bit the conversation and and open and stretch our minds about it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe the other piece that might be missing sometimes is the topic of all the feeling we may go through in finding love, and also how love is related to this, and how we can also make that normal instead of, oh, someone who loves herself is egoist, or else that we judge it. And instead of that, let's explore what that means for us individually and how we can experience this as we're finding love as well. So, having said this, any final words, Pauline, I think, to wrap up as to our conversation today?
No, I think for me, that's all good. Yes. Excited to start this
Amazing.
journey.
Yes, we're so excited to start it as well. And we will be very happy to feedback your comments or suggestions as to what topics to cover as well, because we would also love to make it very nuanced and play and talk about the subtleties in this journey as well, and not to just talk about the main differences or main themes, right? So that's why if you have anything very specific that you are struggling with, that you don't know how to address it, please also write to us. Message would be fine in any form, and then we will be also addressing that in the live conversation. Or if you'd like to get coaching on this topic or any other topic, you also let us know. Okay, thank you so much for watching this and accompanying us in this journey. Sorry for some of the lag in the internet. It's a public internet in the hotel, so it seems like it's not that great. But I hope you still enjoyed and got the main points of what we're discussing. And we're happy to be as well transparent and open and vulnerable to be sharing this journey with you. And having said that, thank you so much. And we will greet you next Tuesday at the same time on the same profile. Thank you.
Thank you, Asel.
Thank you,
See you.